Welcome everyone to another What's New in Dynatrace Observability Clinic. Today we're talking about 277. Time flies. Berkan, how are you doing? Thanks for doing this again.
Hi, India. All good. And how are things on your side?
All good, very good. And I'm very happy that we keep doing these now on a release by release basis. We're getting a lot of great feedback on this. I would say let's jump right in. Berkan, if you can do me a favor, move to the next slide.
Okay.
Here we go. So folks, what you will learn today, as always, just a quick reminder about the Playground environment that we have for you, product updates, and then some additional resources. Next slide, please. For those of you that are not yet familiar with it, we have a Playground environment that everyone can access that has a Dynatrace SaaS account. If you don't have a Dynatrace SaaS account, you can easily sign up through the link on the top left, the bit.ly DT SaaS trial. And once you are there, you get access to the Playground environment, and you can access this to the dturlnet/discover. This is a short URL, but you also find it in other resources that we have on the bottom. A reminder of a GitHub repository that we use to provide different tutorials that guide you through different use cases that you can do with Dynatrace. Next slide, please. I think that's it actually from my side. Berkan, actually over to you. 277. Fill us in.
Okay, thank you very much, Andy. So in this version, we are basically covering the one of the latest versions, 277, as you see here. And on the right side, you will see the main parts, the new features and enhancements is the major one, I can say, we are covering on the session as usual. And also we will have one blog post, which is under the section product news that we will cover deeply. So let's start. I think we have a couple of features. I believe this video will take short. So if you think that if it is taking your time, just don't. No worries, it will do not. So let's start. Okay, the first one is the dashboarding application that we have a change with the variables coming from the query, codes, and CSV are automatically converted to numbers where possible. We mentioned this in the previous version as well. So briefly, starting with this version, 277, there might be some errors in your existing dashboards that dependent on the previous conversion and variables. For example, your query expects a number, but now it receives a string. So for those cases, please use the conversion functions in your queries to convert your values as needed. Okay, and the next one is we have a new property item that Kubernetes service UID is now displayed in the properties card and the API response, as you see in the screenshot. If you just want to check this from the environment, here's an URL that I put as an example. Just click on it. If you have already a Trail account, you can reach the Playground environment, which I explained in the beginning. And you can see also, you can explore the other properties, other details of the service level monitoring. Another update we have with the ActiveGate installer, we updated the installer runtime environment to version 11.0.20.1 to take advantage of performance improvements, as you see, the bug fixes and the latest security vulnerability enhancements. We also improved the problem management. We briefly tightened the problem management logic to prevent corner cases. That, for example, there are some event reports sent with a delay during a maintenance window. Currently, those result in multiple events due to the disabled merging during the maintenance window periods. The logic is basically to enable merging after the maintenance window ends and to be sure that the only one event is created with the same correlation ID. So briefly, that we have now two problems and opened, and with this logic that it will be only one event will be correlated if, of course, those events are created chronologically. So this is the logic. If you don't have a specific use case, you can ignore this one actually. But if you have a use case and wondering that the reason, this is the main reason that you see that behavior. On the product news section, we have a great blog post by our, I think, product management team, where we talk about data management system in Grail, and we explain the ultimate guide, the custom buckets, security policies, security contexts, and how you can use it in Grail, how you can assign buckets to your teams, or how you can assign policies to your teams with more granular permissions. So as used for the ones that are not familiar with Grail, is the Dynatrace causation of data lakehouse, as you see, and it is explicitly designed for observability and security data together with our artificial intelligence integrated into its foundation. And as you see in this table, we have default buckets and table names by on the whole environment. And now we are going to talk about how we can add additional buckets, or how we can design based on your needs, based on your team structure, based on your use cases specifically, and how we give you the flexibility in Dynatrace. So in the first example, as you see, to fully utilize the Grail features, we allow the data which are frequently queried and used, and separately from other scenarios. So in this example, it is logical that for us, for these three teams, as I see, and to segregate high volume data into its own bucket. So what does it mean? As you see that there are three different scenarios. So for the first scenario, the business units might wants to access the audit logs. And the second example that this teams needs to access infra logs, and the third one is the backlogs. As you see, all retention period for each team, for each use case is different. So the first takeaway from here is that you can set retention time period, which you will see also in the next slide, based on your needs, based on your requirements. So with this way, you can archive your logs in a much longer time period or shorter time period if you have high volume data, for example. Or on the security side, the next use case I can say, for example, for this admin, she only would like to access the logs, events, and all audit logs here, all these buckets in Grail. And on the other hand, this team only needs for developers also needs to access the debug logs needed. These are all differentiating from each other. So this will allow you to reduce your costs, to configure your security policies, to improve your performance that queries. So it's as a result that it is giving you the flexibility to control your own data and your performance of your queries. And we will go through a little bit more details in the next slides.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I think that's really important. Just a quick word on my end. As you said, this really enables many different use cases for the different target audiences that want to leverage the data that we have in Grail. Every use case has a different retention requirement. And so we now give you very granular options to define your buckets. Really cool. And as you also said earlier, there's additional links to blog posts and other videos. We will also always add them to the description of this video. But go ahead, think. Yeah,
definitely. Sure. Okay. The first use case that I mentioned, the retention periods. So as you see, by default, the retention period is 35 days. And by setting these custom buckets, the multiple buckets, you can control your retention period from 1 day to 10 years. If you need more details, of course, just click on this documentation and see how it's possible to configure. And this screen comes from your bucket management system directly, which I will also show in the demo environments in a couple of minutes. So going to details of this example, now we take the infra team, or the business units who like to focus on only the infra logs with the retention period is 3 months in this example. And within this query, you can easily see that how we apply filtering with these infra logs. So without this filtering, you will query all the log data in your whole environment, which is not the optimal setup for us and also for you, of course. Therefore, we introduced these custom buckets in Grail, which will allow you to query your data specifically from these buckets. And I think that's clear, but of course, in the video that's in the end, and the mention that I will show you, you will see more, let's say, hands-on examples from the environments that are JSON environments that in the blog post as well. And we will come back to this also in a couple of minutes. Another benefit of using these custom buckets is you see you can define specific policies for your users to access only that data. And here, one step by step, we explain that what type of that buckets we have, the bucket permissions, tables, and table permissions for the users. But in this example, we are briefly saying that allow these users to access the storage, give this read permission, but only the buckets which starts with prod infra. So that team, whenever they run a query, they can only reach these buckets again. And it will help you to adjust your security permissions. The last one is that you can assign a value to specific security context during data ingest. So in this example, we are saying that the team should only access this DSFM log source, for example, or you can say that match value from the log data itself and choose, for example, business events and card data to give the results of exact queries, which has the business data related information for those log queries. So that example that also I will show you later on. But here in this context, that you can give even more granular details and permissions to your users and adjust your data configuration accordingly.
So basically, Berkan, if I understand this correctly, on the one side, we allow people to define buckets where logs or business events should go for retention purposes, but also for access control for the whole bucket. With the security context here, during data ingest, we are enriching every single log entry, every single entry that goes into Grail with a so-called security context that we can then also use for even more fine-grained access control on individual line entries. Yeah.
Definitely. And you can craft like your policies based on existing fields like cluster, Kubernetes cluster, namespaces, or host group, log source in this example, or service name, or you can also use security context for any other use cases like giving access based on AWS accounts or Azure subscription, username, team name, and so on. So I think that's an infinite set options that we talk about here.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
It's too forward to say infinite, but yes, I think you answered my point. So, okay, let's continue. So this is the blog post URL for you to read in details. For each section, you can see it, and the documentation, how you can assign these buckets. Playground environment, of course, you can see the settings page directly here. And the most important part is the demo by Jason. So I will not show you examples because it's not needed. Once you click on this demo, you will see step by step how Jason creates these buckets, not the creating part, sorry, how Jason creates these policies and run the queries, limited queries for each team and go through the scenario. So these are basically all matching all the things that I explained to you. And you can watch the video directly from here. The one thing that I will show you is an example that how you can access your bucket management system. And it's pretty simple. If you go to settings from your environments, it is located under log monitoring. Let's wait a couple of seconds. Okay, under log monitoring section, you will see the bucket assignments menu item. That's all that you need to do. And from there, you just need to define your own buckets based on specific conditions. And if I come back to this slide one more time here, and from this documentation, you can find all these steps, step by step, explained very well in our documentation.
And we add all these links also to the description, or if you're watching this on Dynatrace University, you will also have access to the slides. But as I said, the links will also be in the description of this video.
And last, as always, we need your feedbacks, we need your questions. Granularity, it comes with complexity. I think it's same for these configurations, there's permissions, same for the maybe pricing. So for any question mark in your mind, please raise this in Dynatrace One chat, in chats to our Dynatrace One team, or to community, to product management team, or you can learn more from our videos in the webinars, but please just interact with us, share your opinions so that we can improve this in a more simple and smooth way for all of us. Cool. Oh, that's all I think from my end, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Berkan. To wrap up from my side, I think a lot of great improvements around how we deal with storing our data in Grail, and also how we allow you to then use these buckets and also the security context to control who has access to the data. And a lot of great additional material. This was 277. 278, I'm sure, will be recorded as well soon. But for today, that's it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Berkan. All the best.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thanks, everyone. Bye.